I proposed to Sarah on a Tuesday evening in March 1982. We were sitting on a bench in Riverside Park, watching the sunset over the water. She was 24. I was 25. We'd been dating for 18 months. I was completely, utterly, hopelessly in love with her. I didn't have a ring yet. Couldn't afford one. I was working construction, making just enough to cover my rent and groceries. But I had love. I had so much love, it felt like it would burst right out of my chest. And I believed, God, I believed with everything in me, that love would be enough. I got down on one knee, right there on that bench, took her hand, looked into those green eyes that had captivated me from the moment I first saw her. Sarah, I don't have much. I can't promise you wealth or luxury, or any of the things you probably deserve. But I can promise you love. Real love. The kind that lasts. The kind that matters. Marry me. Let me spend the rest of my life loving you. She cried. Beautiful, happy tears. She said yes without hesitation. Threw her arms around me. Kissed me like we were the only two people in the world. I don't need wealth, she whispered. I just need you. Love is all we need. My name is Walter. I'm 65 years old. I've been divorced for 12 years. And I can tell you, with absolute certainty, love is not enough. It's not nearly enough. That's the hardest lesson I've ever learned, the most painful truth I've ever had to accept, the thing I wish someone had told me when I was 25 years old, down on one knee, promising forever, based on nothing but feeling. Love is not enough to build a life on. And believing it is, that was my biggest mistake. Sarah and I got married 4 months after that proposal. Small ceremony. Her parents' backyard. 50 people. Justice of the peace. Simple white dress. My father's old suit that didn't quite fit right. But none of that mattered. We were in love. We were getting married. We were starting our forever. The wedding cost $800. Her parents paid for most of it. We spent our honeymoon in a cabin 2 hours north that my uncle let us use for free. 3 days. Just us. Making love and making plans and making promises about the beautiful life we'd build together. I remember lying in bed that first morning as husband and wife. Sarah curled up against me, sunlight streaming through the window, feeling like the luckiest man alive. We're going to be so happy, she said. We already are happy. I mean forever. We're going to have this forever. I know we are. And I believed it. Completely believed it. Because we loved each other. And love conquers all, right? That's what every song and movie and book tells you. That's what everyone says when they're young and naive and haven't yet learned how the world actually works. Love conquers all. It doesn't. But I didn't know that yet. The first year was magical. We were poor, painfully poor. I was still doing construction, making barely above minimum wage. Sarah was working as a receptionist. Entry level. Not much better than what I was making. Together, we made enough to rent a tiny, one-bedroom apartment in a building with thin walls and unreliable heat. We furnished it with hand-me-downs and garage sale finds. Our bed was a mattress on the floor. Our couch was something Sarah's aunt was throwing out. Our kitchen table was a piece of plywood on cinder blocks. But we were happy. Genuinely, completely happy. We'd come home from work exhausted. Make cheap pasta or rice and beans. Eat sitting on that terrible couch. Talk about our days, our dreams, our plans. Sarah wanted to go back to school eventually. Become a teacher. She loved kids. Loved the idea of shaping young minds. I wanted to start my own construction company someday. Be my own boss. Build things that mattered. Things that would last. We'd save money, we agreed. Be smart. Be patient. Eventually, we'd get there. Together. Because we had love. And love would see us through. Sex was frequent and enthusiastic. We couldn't keep our hands off each other. The passion we felt, it was electric. Consuming. The kind of connection that makes you feel like you found the one person in the world who truly sees you. We'd laugh at stupid things, stay up too late talking, fall asleep tangled together on that mattress on the floor. Poor but happy, struggling but together, in love. That was year 1. Year 2, small cracks started showing. Not big ones, not obvious ones, just little stressors, little moments where reality brushed up against our beautiful, romantic vision. Sarah's car broke down. $1,500 in repairs we didn't have. We put it on a credit card, told ourselves we'd pay it off quickly. We didn't. My job was seasonal. Winter came and work slowed down. I was bringing in half of what I'd made in summer. We fell behind on rent. Our landlord was understanding but firm. 1 month, he said. After that, I have to evict you. Sarah picked up extra shifts, started working 50 hours a week, coming home exhausted, too tired to talk, too tired for sex, too tired for the connection that had sustained us through that first year. We started arguing about money. Little arguments at first. We need to stop eating out. We ate out once this month. That's once too many when we're behind on rent. I'm working 50 hours a week. I wanted one nice meal. And I'm working 60 trying to make up the difference. We can't afford nice meals right now. Tense, snapping at each other. The ease we'd had, that comfortable, loving flow, it started feeling forced. Harder to maintain, but we still loved each other. That was the important thing. We'd hit a rough patch, but we'd get through it. Love would see us through. That's what I told myself, what we both told ourselves. Year 3, we found out Sarah was pregnant. We weren't trying. Weren't ready, but it happened. And when Sarah showed me the positive test, crying, scared, uncertain, I held her and said, "This is good. This is gonna be good. We'll figure it out." How? We can barely afford to feed ourselves. How are we going to afford a baby? We'll manage. People do this all the time. We love each other. We'll make it work. Love would make it work. That was my answer to everything. Every problem, every challenge, every moment of doubt, love would fix it. Love would be enough. Sarah wanted to believe me. I could see it in her eyes. See her trying to push down the fear and embrace the hope. Because we loved each other. And people who love each other can overcome anything, right? Emma was born in November 1985. 7 pounds, 3 ounces, perfect. Absolutely perfect. I held her in the hospital room and felt my entire world shift. Felt love. A different kind of love. Deeper and more terrifying than anything I'd felt for Sarah wash over me. This tiny person. This fragile, helpless, perfect tiny person. She was mine. Ours. And I would do anything for her. "We're a family now," Sarah said, exhausted but glowing. "We are. I love you. I love you too, more than ever." And I meant it. In that moment, I loved Sarah more than I ever had. Loved her for giving me this gift, for creating this tiny miracle, for being my wife and the mother of my child. We brought Emma home to our tiny apartment, set up a crib in the corner of our bedroom, tried to figure out this parenting thing together. It was hard, harder than I'd imagined. Emma cried constantly. Sarah was exhausted. I was exhausted. We were running on no sleep and maximum stress. But we were a family, and we loved each other, and that would be enough. I kept telling myself that, kept believing it even as the evidence mounted that maybe, just maybe, it wasn't true. Money became a constant source of stress. Babies are expensive, I knew that intellectually. Everyone knows that. But living it, experiencing the actual financial pressure, it was crushing. Diapers, formula, doctor visits, clothes she'd outgrow in weeks. The cost added up so fast. Sarah couldn't work anymore. Daycare cost more than she'd been making, so she stayed home, which meant We were living on my construction salary alone, barely making it, falling further behind every month. Credit card debt piled up. We started getting calls from collection agencies, notices of late payments, threats to turn off utilities if we didn't catch up. I picked up extra work, every job I could find, 70, 80-hour weeks sometimes. Coming home so tired I could barely stand, barely able to spend time with Emma, barely able to talk to Sarah. I'm doing this for us, I'd say. For our family. It'll get better. When? When will it get better? You're never here. Emma barely knows you, and we're still broke. I'm trying my best. I know you are, but trying isn't enough. Trying isn't enough. Neither is love. But we didn't say that part out loud. Didn't want to acknowledge that maybe the foundation we built our marriage on, pure, passionate, romantic love, wasn't strong enough to support the weight of real life. Real bills, real stress, real exhaustion. Year 5, things got worse. I hurt my back at work, herniated disc. Doctor said I needed surgery and months of recovery. But surgery meant time off. Time off meant no paycheck. No paycheck meant we'd lose everything. So I didn't get the surgery. Took painkillers and kept working. Came home every night in agony, snapping at Sarah, impatient with Emma. Becoming someone I didn't recognize. Sarah started resenting me. I could feel it, see it in the way she looked at me, hear it in her tone. Other men provide for their families. I am providing, I'm killing myself providing. We're drowning in debt. The rent's 2 months late. That's not providing. That's failing. The words hit like punches. Because she was right. I was failing. Despite working myself to death, despite loving them with everything I had, I was failing to give them what they needed. Love wasn't enough. Hard work wasn't enough. Good intentions weren't enough. Nothing I had was enough. Sex stopped completely. We were too tired, too stressed, too resentful. The physical connection that had once been so easy, so natural, it became another casualty of our circumstances. Sarah slept on her side of the bed. I slept on mine, careful not to touch, not to impose, not to expect anything the other person couldn't give. We became roommates who shared a child, going through the motions, splitting duties, existing in parallel rather than together. I missed her, missed the woman I'd married, missed the ease we'd had, missed feeling like we were a team rather than two people drowning separately in the same sinking boat. But I didn't know how to fix it, didn't know how to bridge the gap that had opened between us. I tried. I'd bring her flowers sometimes, cheap ones from the grocery store. She'd smile and say thank you, put them in a vase, but the gesture felt hollow, like we were both playing roles in a marriage that had stopped being real. I love you, I'd say, because I did. Despite everything, I still loved her. I know, she'd respond. Not I love you too, just I know. Like my love was an obligation she had to acknowledge, not a gift she wanted to receive. Year 7. Sarah got a job. Emma was in school. First grade, gone during the day. So Sarah found work as a teacher's aide, not what she'd dreamed of, but something. Income, independence, a reason to leave the apartment that had become her prison. It helped financially. 2 incomes meant we could finally start catching up on bills, finally stop living in constant crisis mode. But it didn't help us, didn't help our marriage. If anything, it made the distance worse. Sarah started making friends at work, going out occasionally, book club, girls' nights, normal things, healthy things. But I felt left behind. Felt like she was building a life that didn't include me. Building happiness outside of us. You should be happy for me, she said when I complained. I'm finally doing something for myself. I am happy for you. I just miss you. Miss spending time together. You're always working. When would we spend time together? She had a point. I was still working long hours, still trying to keep us afloat, still trying to be the provider I'd promised to be. But somewhere along the way, being a provider had become my only role. I wasn't a husband anymore, not really. Just a paycheck, a name on bills, someone who shared her space but not her life. Year 9, we went to counseling. Sarah's idea. We need help, professional help, because whatever we're doing isn't working. I agreed, reluctantly, because going to counseling felt like admitting failure, admitting that love wasn't enough, admitting that we couldn't fix ourselves. But I went, because I still loved her, still wanted to save us, still believed that somewhere under all the stress and resentment and exhaustion, the couple who'd fallen in love in Riverside Park still existed. The counselor was a woman in her 50s. Kind eyes, patient demeanor. She asked us questions, made us talk to each other instead of past each other, made us confront things we'd been avoiding for years. When did you stop feeling like partners, she asked. Sarah answered first. When money became more important than us, when survival mode became our permanent state, when I realized Walter was more married to his job than to me. The counselor turned to me. Is that true? I work to support us, to give Emma a good life, to be the man Sarah deserves. But is it what Sarah wants? I looked at Sarah, really looked at her, and I realized I didn't know what she wanted anymore. Didn't know who she was beyond wife and mother and teacher's aide. Didn't know her. Not the way I used to. Not the way a husband should know his wife. What do you want? I asked her. For the first time in years, I actually asked. She cried. I want to feel seen. I want to matter more than the bills. I want to feel like we're building something together, instead of just surviving separately. I want to feel loved, not just hear the words. Feel it. I do love you. I know you do. But love alone isn't enough, Walter. It never was. We tried. After that session, we really tried. Weekly counseling appointments, date nights, making time for each other, being intentional about our marriage, instead of letting it exist on autopilot. It helped. Some. We talked more, connected more, started remembering why we'd fallen in love in the first place. But the damage was deep. Years of resentment and disappointment and unmet expectations. You can't undo that in a few months of trying harder. I cut back my hours at work, tried to be more present, more available. Sarah appreciated it. Emma appreciated it. But cutting back hours meant cutting back income, meant we started sliding backward financially again. Can't win. That's how it felt. Can't win. Work more, lose my family. Work less, lose our financial stability. No right answer. No way to be enough. No way to give everyone what they needed, including myself. Year 11, Sarah said she wanted to go back to school. Full degree. Teaching credential. Not just an aide, an actual teacher. Her dream. The thing she'd wanted since before we got married. It'll take 3 years, she said. I'll have to quit my job, go to school full-time. We'll be back to living on your income alone. But Walter, I need this. I need something that's mine, something I'm building for me. Every part of me wanted to say no. Wanted to point out that we'd finally gotten to a place where we were stable, where we weren't drowning, where we could breathe. Going back to one income would undo all of that, would put us right back in crisis mode. Right back to the stress that had nearly destroyed us. But I looked at her face, saw the hope there, the need, the desperation for something more than the life we'd been living. And I said yes, because I loved her, because I wanted her to be happy, because maybe, just maybe, if she got what she needed, we'd finally be okay. Love would make it work. I still believed that, still clung to it. It didn't work. 3 years of Sarah in school. 3 years of me working myself to death again. 3 years of barely seeing each other, barely connecting, living parallel lives under the same roof. Emma was in middle school, struggling. needing attention we didn't have to give, getting into small trouble. Nothing serious, but warning signs. Signs that our daughter was feeling the strain of parents who were too stressed and too exhausted to be fully present. Sarah got her degree, passed her exams, got hired at a good school, finally became the teacher she'd always wanted to be. I was proud of her, genuinely proud. She'd worked so hard, sacrificed so much, she deserved this. But I also felt something else, something I hated admitting even to myself. Resentment. She'd gotten her dream, spent 3 years pursuing what she wanted, while I'd spent 3 years holding everything together, sacrificing again, giving again, being the support system again. And I was tired, so tired. Year 14, Sarah sat me down. I knew before she said anything. Knew from her face, from the way she'd been distant for weeks, from the careful way she was approaching this conversation. I'm not happy. 3 words, simple, devastating. I know, I said. Neither am I, but we can work on it. Go back to counseling. Try harder. I don't think trying harder is going to fix this. What are you saying? She looked at me, eyes full of sadness, but also resolution, decision, finality. I think we should separate. The words hung in the air, heavy, irreversible. You want a divorce. I want us both to be happy. And I don't think we can be happy together anymore. I think we've been holding on to something that died a long time ago. Something we should have let go years ago. But I love you. I've always loved you. I know you do, and I love you too. But Walter, love isn't enough. It was never enough. And pretending it was has just made us both miserable. I wanted to argue, wanted to fight for us, wanted to say that we could fix this if we just tried harder. But I couldn't, because she was right. We were miserable, both of us, had been for years, staying together out of obligation and habit and fear rather than actual happiness. Love wasn't enough, and continuing to pretend it was wouldn't change that. We separated in May of 2010. I moved out, found a small apartment, 1 bedroom, furnished it with the bare minimum, spent my first night alone in 15 years, lying on a cheap mattress, staring at the ceiling, wondering how it all went so wrong. We'd loved each other, really loved each other. That was real. That mattered. But it wasn't enough. We'd tried. God, we'd tried. Years of counseling, years of fighting for us, years of believing that love could overcome financial stress and exhaustion and unmet expectations and resentment. But it couldn't. Love couldn't fix structural problems, couldn't pay bills, couldn't undo years of damage, couldn't make 2 people compatible when circumstances had driven them apart. The divorce was finalized a year later, amicable as these things go. We split assets, arranged custody. Emma was 16 by then, old enough to have a say. She chose to live with Sarah, come to my place on weekends. I didn't fight it. She needed stability, needed her mother, needed to not feel torn between 2 parents who couldn't make it work. I signed the papers, wrote Sarah a check for her half of everything we'd accumulated over 15 years, which wasn't much. We'd spent 15 years barely surviving. There wasn't much to divide. And just like that, it was over. 15 years of marriage, gone, reduced to signatures on documents. The years after the divorce were strange. I had freedom. More money, ironically, since I was only supporting myself now. Could actually afford things. Could breathe financially for the first time in years. But I was alone. Coming home to an empty apartment. No Sarah, no Emma, no family dinners or bedtime routines, or the small moments that make up a life. I dated occasionally, met women, nice women, but nothing stuck. Nothing felt right. Because I was still hung up on the question, what went wrong? I'd loved Sarah. She'd loved me. We'd started with everything people say matters. Chemistry, connection, passion, commitment, love. Real love, the kind poets write about, the kind movies are made about, the kind everyone says is the foundation of a good marriage, and it wasn't enough. So what was I missing? What did I not understand? What lesson was I supposed to learn from 15 years of trying and failing? I'm 65 years old now, 12 years divorced. Emma's 28, lives across the country, calls me once a month. We're cordial, but not close. The teenage years when her parents split, those left marks, distance she's never quite bridged. Sarah remarried 5 years ago. Man she met at her school. Teacher. From what Emma tells me, he's good to her. Makes her happy in ways I never could. I'm happy for her. Genuinely happy. She deserves happiness. Deserves someone who can give her what she needs. I'm still single. Still in that same small apartment. Still working, though I've scaled back. Getting close to retirement. And I've spent 12 years thinking about what went wrong. What I should have known. What I wish someone had told me when I was 25 years old, proposing in Riverside Park with nothing but love to offer. Here's what I've learned. Love is not enough to build a life on. It's necessary, it's important, but it's not sufficient. You need compatibility. Not just attraction, but actual life compatibility. Similar values, similar goals, similar approaches to money and work and family. You need communication. Real communication. Not just talking, but actually hearing each other. Understanding each other. Being willing to be vulnerable and honest, even when it's hard. You need financial stability. I know that sounds unromantic. I know people say money doesn't matter, but it does. Financial stress destroys relationships. It creates resentment. It turns partners into adversaries fighting over scarce resources. You need realistic expectations. Sarah and I expected love to solve everything, to make up for poverty and stress and incompatibility, to be enough on its own. And when it wasn't, we felt betrayed, cheated, like we'd been sold a lie. And maybe we were. Maybe this whole culture that tells young people love conquers all is setting them up for failure, setting them up to believe that feeling is enough, that passion is sufficient, that romance can substitute for practical compatibility. It can't. It doesn't. And believing it does. That was my biggest mistake. I ran into Sarah last year. Chance encounter. Coffee shop. She was with her husband. I was alone. We talked for a few minutes. Polite. Surface level. How's Emma? How's work? How's life? Her husband excused himself, gave us a moment alone, and Sarah looked at me. Really looked at me. Are you happy? She asked. Happy enough. You? Yeah, I am. Good. That's good. A pause. Awkward. Full of history we'd never fully processed. I'm sorry it didn't work, she said. I really wanted it to. Me too. We loved each other, though. That was real. It was. It just wasn't enough. She nodded, understanding, accepting. No, it wasn't. Her husband came back. They left. I sat there with my coffee, thinking about what might have been. About 2 kids who fell in love and believed that would be sufficient. About 15 years of trying to make that belief true. About the slow, painful realization that it wasn't. I don't regret marrying Sarah. That might sound strange given how it ended, but I don't. She gave me Emma. She gave me 15 years of memories, good ones and bad ones. She gave me lessons I needed to learn even though learning them hurt. She gave me the truth. Love alone is not enough, and maybe I needed to learn that. Maybe we all do. Maybe it's the most important lesson a person can learn about relationships. That love matters. Love is important. Love is beautiful and necessary and worth fighting for. But it's not a magic wand, not a cure-all, not a substitute for the practical, unsexy work of building an actual life together. If I could go back and talk to 25-year-old Walter, here's what I'd say. Love Sarah. She's wonderful. She deserves love. But don't marry her yet. Wait. Get stable first. Get your construction business started. Get financially secure. Figure out who you are outside of this relationship. Talk about the hard things. Money, kids, career goals. What happens when life gets difficult? What you'll do when poverty and stress test your commitment. Don't assume love will solve these problems. Don't build a marriage on passion and hope and the romantic belief that feeling intensely about each other is sufficient. It's not. It never was. And discovering that after you're already married, already have a child, already built a life, that's much harder than figuring it out beforehand. But 25-year-old Walter wouldn't have listened. He was too in love, too certain, too convinced that he and Sarah were different, special, that their love was stronger than other people's love, that their love would be enough. He had to learn the hard way, through 15 years of struggling, through a divorce, through watching his daughter grow up in a broken home, through years of wondering what went wrong and slowly, painfully understanding love is not enough. That's the lesson. That's the truth I spent 15 years resisting before finally accepting it. I'm not saying don't love. I'm not saying don't take risks on relationships. I'm not saying don't marry someone because you're not 100% certain it'll work. Nothing in life is certain. Nothing is guaranteed. But I am saying, be realistic, be honest, be practical. Love is the start, the spark, the reason you want to build something with someone. But then you have to actually build it. With skills and tools and resources and planning. With communication and compromise and hard work. With more than just love.